Oh, Jesus Christ, that wasn't expected. Fuck. Okay, hello everybody, welcome once again to another wrestling prediction. I did this for the Royal Rumble, and now we're doing it for the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. As you know, WrestleMania goes Hollywood. Tomorrow will be night numero uno, and there'll be night numero dos. You know, a little bit of Spanish, you know. Anyway, we're doing it like last time, no face cam, nothing, just going along with it. And predicting the results for night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania, maybe predicting a little bit of what's happening on the Raw after Mania, and a little bit of what could happen tonight on SmackDown, or WrestleMania SmackDown, as they are calling it. They did it last year, they did it for Raw, so yeah, let's predict. Let's start with the WrestleMania SmackDown over things. There's not much to predict there. The only thing I could predict is that the fact that we're going to be getting Bobby Lashley probably could be the winner of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, or, which is the only thing really that matters, the only thing I will be talking about from there, or a second likely possibility, I could see either LA Knight or even Karen Cross or Bronson Reed, any of them winning the armbar or armbar thing. Yeah, it's something like that. The Andre the Giant Battle Royale. I could see Bobby still being a part of the WrestleMania card should they do something with him, maybe with LA Knight. LA Knight has been saying that what would be a WrestleMania, or what would be WrestleMania in LA without LA Knight? Yeah, so you know, probably I could see them setting up something between the two, even if it is a rush. Just a rush match, just to have Bobby Lashley on the show. Kind of feel bad for him, you know. Goes to work with Bray Wyatt, and Bray gets, I believe, injured as a medical problem. I don't think they've been very clear on what he has, but you know, not the greatest thing for Bobby Lashley. Feel bad for him, especially like last year, dude was at WrestleMania 2 years ago, was the defending world champion, and this year not on the card, which is a bit of a shame if you ask me. But yeah, just have to hope for it, and let's see if that in fact does happen, and we do in fact get Bobby Lashley on the grandest stage of them all, or not. Afterwards, yeah. Also, they've revealed the stage for WrestleMania, and I will say, let me show you this. I think this is one of the sickest ones they have done. I really like the posters on the side, which is very, very cool. So yeah, the stage looks great. I cannot wait to see the entrances. This is the first Triple H WrestleMania, and it's gonna be all about the entrances. And I don't even want to question how much money will be spent on Cody Rhodes' pyro. I hope they reveal it, because they're going to do press conferences afterwards, just because I want a number. I want to know how much it will be, just to know, just a rough estimation for the entrance, not the post or anything. So they also have revealed the schedule for both nights, and let's see if I do this right. I believe this will be night 1. There we go. This is night 2, and this is night 1, and they are reversed. Damn it, I fucked up. Can I quickly swap them out? No, because it's giving me something else to grab onto. Fuck. Okay, no, it's not. I'm grabbing just the first image. Okay, it's not. Okay, let me do that. Can I please? Image 5. Can I move you? Thank you very much. There we go. I do believe they're a little bit, they're not perfectly centered, which kind of pisses me off. Can I? Nope, well, not wanting to do that. Let me just move it. Nope. Control Z. Jesus. I just wanted to minimize a little bit, move it a little bit, so that this one can maybe be moved a bit. I don't know if they're perfectly aligned or not, but let's go with that. Let's stick it that way. So here it is. Here's both match cards. Now, very interesting that the top of the card on day one says Austin Theory versus John Cena. That won't be the main event. That'll be the opener. I think they put it up there not because of like, oh, it's the match that includes John Cena, so of course they're going to give it top billing. I'm pretty sure it's top of the billing there because they don't know what's going to main event night one. Because story-wise and drama-wise and involvement of the crowd, it should be the tag titles, but it could also be the SmackDown Women's title match. That could be the main event of night one. So, let's talk about each night individually. So first things first, let's go in reverse order of how they are. We'll start at the bottom, go to the top. So we'll begin with the Tag Team Showcase, which really doesn't mean anything. I think both tag team showcases will just be like a way to get people on the card and then give them the title shot post WrestleMania, and just to have people contend for the titles. So the first one will be the men's with Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy versus the Viking Raiders. Now, assuming we all know the result of the tag team match, we're gonna need some heels to be at the top of the division, and with Alpha Academy more likely than not breaking apart so that Otis can join Maximum Male Models and Chad Gable allegedly getting somewhat of a push on Raw. I could definitely see it going the way of the Viking Raiders, as you know, again, as I said, if you're gonna do the expected result for the tag title match, then you need heels. Viking Raiders would be great first opponents. It also will depend on if we are in fact seeing the return of DIY on Raw, but then again, and then there'll still be a babyface team, and their contracts are I believe they're expiring with AEW, so FTR could also, with Triple H at the helm, could join WWE, so it all depends. But I do think that at least for first opponents for the tag champs, well, post-Mania, Viking Raiders feel like they could be it, but they could also see if it does mean nothing in the end. The Street Profits could be the ones to win, but then again, it feels like they're preparing themselves for Montez Ford's future, where he is where he's a singles competitor. So it's up in the air, and then you have Braun and Ricochet, which I don't know how long this tag team will last. So then we move on to the Mysterios, which I think should be Dominic the one to win it. I also think that he should come out, and this should be like, I do think this should be one of the earliest matches on the card. It all depends on where the position is for the women's championship match, because I would absolutely love for Dominic, because like Finn Balor is on night 2, so he's gonna have, and we know Legado del Fantasma allegedly is gonna be up there with Rey, so maybe something is set up tonight on SmackDown. But Legado del Fantasma is coming out with Rey. Judgment Day should all come out with Dominic. The problem will be Rhea Ripley, because she has a match later in the same evening. Also, gonna say, kind of feel bad for Damian Priest, the only member of the Judgment Day to not have a match at WrestleMania in any way, shape, and or form, which kind of makes it seem like maybe he will be the one to win the armbar. But anyway, I think Dominic should come out at WrestleMania. It all depends on another thing I'll say in a bit, but first, it all depends on how he comes. It should come out in the Eddie Guerrero Wall Rider that he was in. It's in LA, the one that he used on I believe April 4th, 2000 on a SmackDown episode, one of the final ones he ever drove on television, and come out with all members of Judgment Day, call himself Dominic Guerrero, as he's been saying, like this should have been Eddie's son. And I do think, and people have been saying, canonically speaking, in the realm of WWE, he is a Guerrero, he is Eddie's son, so he should come out as Dominic Guerrero on a lowrider. And this is the thing, I don't know if he should come out with Viva la Raza, as it's the title, it's the theme song everybody associates with Eddie, or the one he had right before his passing, before he went back to Viva la Raza, or got Viva la Raza, which was with began with a little phone ringing, the ding, 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 can you feel the heat? Now, obviously that would be cool as well, but like most people will probably just recognize or remember Viva la Raza, so probably should come out with that in the lowrider with the entirety of the Judgment Day with him. I don't know if I would love him to come out first with it or second, but it would be lovely if they did that. However, there's also a second possibility that he still comes out as Dominic Mysterio, does still the same thing. There's speculation that this will not be the end of the feuds. This is just to make Dom come out as a star, but I would absolutely love, this is something I saw floating around, would be absolutely fantastic, is that not winning the match per se, or winning this match, but like the rubber match or the second match, losing to Ray, but then Dominic winning King of the Ring, and instead of going around with the gimmick of King Dom, no, and not even with the gimmick of, go with the gimmick of King Mysterio, but instead of being King, you go with the Spanish pronunciation of King, which is Rey. So it would be Rey Mysterio, which I think would be, chef's kiss. It would be grand to see. Then we're going to go for, which will be the most athletic match of the night, the more traditional work rate match, let's put it that way, of the entire weekend, which is Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul. Logan Paul, notable prick, but goddammit, can the kids go? But in this one, on April Fool's, on his birthday, Logan Paul will lose to freaking Rollins. It's easy. You're not going to make a star of Seth's caliber lose. Logan's contract, I believe, expires now. Obviously, he can resign, but it feels right for him to lose to Seth Rollins. It's a quick and easy one. Then we get to the Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, and Lita match versus Damage Control match. And here, there's a lot of possibilities they can go. I do think Damage Control will win with Trish Stratus turning heel. The speculation is that Trish will be going up to SummerSlam to fight Becky, which should be a fun match as well. So, yeah, feels right to have that start here. Damage Control gets off the win. Then on Monday, you could have Becky and Lita defend the women's tag titles against Damage Control. Damage Control become the 3-time women's tag team champions. And you can continue on with the Trish and Becky storyline. I don't know how you would then pretend like this should also be the end of the feud. So at the same time, you shouldn't do that of like the Damage Control versus Becky and Lita. Maybe give the women's showcase winners the tag title match afterwards, and then you can insert Damage Control back into that feud. It's a way to do it. Then we start off with, another one. I feel like a lot of this card, and it's good that it is in a way predictable. It's easy to predict. And we get to one of them ones that it's easy to predict. It's the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And this one has to go to Sami and Kevin. This is one of the matches it's in a toss-up to be the main event. I think just because of I get why the women should main event. I believe it's been discussed as a political move. I don't think it's political in a sense, as in I do think now with the 2-night WrestleMania and with 2 Rumbles, one for the men, one for the women, and now that we've established women, not that we established women can main event WrestleMania, much more of a now we have talent in the women's side that could main event WrestleMania, then absolutely they should be given the main event. But I do think the main event of a WrestleMania should always go to a world title match, and this one just or it can only be superseded over 2 things: a storyline that makes perfect sense to be the main event, a very cohesive, very well told storyline, or a big money match like last year. There's no way in hell you could have had Steve Austin and Kevin Owens main event WrestleMania and then have Charlotte versus Ronda. You can't. You simply couldn't. So this year is the same, but different. Is that do you put the women on last after you had the tag match, the emotional story and like the very, very like not just emotional, but the story of you have Sami Zayn's match and Usos match really go before something, you could very much deflate the crowd, especially if you get like a swerve, like a heel win in the Usos, or like they already have planted the seeds, or a heel turn by Kevin Owens. There's a lot of things that could happen here. I do think this should main event just because like you want to give, and also it's better for Charlotte and Rhea just to be like the crowd being more into it, much more energetic. But in here, I do think it's an easy one. Sami and Kevin win. It's the fall of the bloodline. They begin the night with all the gold, and they will end the nights with nothing. And it begins here because the entire storyline now has been, for Kevin Owens, has been beat the bloodline. Sami was to find a place to fit in. That's why him winning the world title never made a lot of sense. And I'll say this, I saw some people say like, Sami putting that much offense against Roman kind of ruined, kind of buries a lot of people that fought Roman, and that Sami kind of was like a Hulk Hogan, with how much offense he got against Roman. I'll say this, I agree. Maybe got a little bit too much offense, especially after the fact that he was squashed like last year. But here's the thing. There is such a thing as hometown emotion. There is such a thing as that. And I, as a football fan, have seen time and time again big fucking clubs lose to small teams at the small team's home, even at their own homes, because the small teams just play different against in the big match scenario. They will play differently, and I do think that's kind of the same thing that happened with Sami Zayn. So yeah, and then we get to what could be the other possible main event: Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Again, kind of predictable. Should be a good match, but it's the Judgment Day's representative, Rhea Ripley, that should win, which I think is going to be a very good show for the Judgment Day, with Dominic, Rhea, and tomorrow on the second day, Finn, and that's a spoiler, winning all their matches. A good weekend for Judgment Day, and if Damian Priest does win the armbar, it could be a phenomenal WrestleMania for the group that, ironically enough, began last year. Then we'll move on to the first match of the evening. The proceedings will be Austin Theory versus John Cena, and this one, I guess it could go either way. But I do think it all depends on what happens on the Raw after Mania, right? Because that's the thing, right? John Cena is not sticking around for too long. He's a part-timer, and we don't even know how many times we're going to see him after this. So he could win this and immediately drop the title to somebody new debuting on Raw, or a return on Raw. He has done that before, if you remember correctly, when Alberto Del Rio returned in 2015 and Cena was leaving. He dropped the title to Del Rio. So I could see him do the same thing should he win the title. But I think that this thing with Austin Theory, the whole point of him, the brutal promo he dropped on him, is kind of the same thing he did to Roman a couple years ago. Not a couple of years ago. It was pre-pandemic. I think it was like 2019, if I'm not mistaken. About Roman not being cut out for it, not doing his job, and that's why Cena had to come back, and like Cena being better at doing it part-time, that Roman was full-time. And although these promos are skating, they eventually do good work for these people. So maybe but the problem is, like, every time the Cena has done a promo like that, the character took a while for the guy to actually get a character or to evolve to a place where he is where he should be. And Austin Theory absolutely can be the future of this business. And I hate the fact people last year were like, oh, the photograph gimmick, that's not main event worthy. Neither was the Doctor of Thugonomics, and still made it to the main event. So yeah. But yeah, it could legitimately. This is one of the ones I could see either way. So it all depends on what they're gonna do. If they want to say, like, for example, let's say that they do sign a Brian Cage that apparently his contract expires today, or a Jay White that they want to debut on Raw and make a big splash with a more casual audience of WWE. You do it by beating John Cena for the US title, or you just have Theory beat him now. It depends. And I do think after Mania, I think is when we're really going to start seeing a lot of what Triple H has in store. I think that the booking so far has been okay. The shows have been good to it's been from okay to good. There hasn't been a really bad episode of Raw or SmackDown. I think for after this is when he will begin to mold the show the way he wants to, as it makes sense. There was a lot of moving pieces, and Triple H needed to go from. He took the show halfway through the season, basically. You don't mess too much, so I could see him after Mania and like do the Raw after Mania, do the SmackDown after Mania, announce a draft, and then clearly split the brands 100%. I think that's going to happen with the world titles and the tag titles being 100% split. So yeah, maybe, but I think that all begins on Monday, not WrestleMania. WrestleMania is, in a way, unless Vince McMahon really truly comes back to full creative control, which I don't think he will. I think he will keep on having input, like Triple H has always said he has. But I don't think Vince will ever return to the full helm, because I also think that over the last few months, maybe Vince has seen that like the company can go forward without him, can do well, and it also all will depend on the sale. So yeah, now we move on to the women's tag team showcase between Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Natalia and Shotzi, Ronda and Shayna, Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. Fun fact, Sonya Deville just lucked into having a match at WrestleMania because Carmella is an unclear situation. She disappeared for a couple weeks on TV. She was removed from this match. We can say removed because I think WWE kind of like they already had all the work done, graphics work done for it, and graphic cards for like some pamphlets I think were showcasing Carmella in a spot of Sonya Deville, and well now and then there's like they're doing like the superstore and all that with like posters of the wrestlers, and Carmella is always next to Chelsea. Funnily enough, Chelsea alongside with what is it? Who is it? It's outside of it's Chelsea. It's I'm trying to look at the whole card. It's Chelsea. It's Braun and Dakota, technically speaking, are the only wrestlers rehired by Triple H since taking charge. They actually have a match at WrestleMania. Now, I do think a lot of it is because he's trying to slowly but surely rebuild the roster, and then we'll see what happens after Mania, but whatever. In this match, it all depends on what's happening, right? Like Ronda apparently has been working with an injury. Oh yeah, and what's thing about Carmella? Like it's weird what happened to Carmella because she today, or I don't know, I don't think it's today, but on the video that they announced or they showcased the WrestleMania stage, Carmella was there with Corey. So I don't know what's happening with her. It's a second time. I mean, last few times that this happened, it wasn't exactly good news. So which could have been good news, but ended up not being good news for Carmella. So let's hope for the best, and it's just like a smaller thing, or that it is like the last few times but actually has a good result this time. And I could say what it was, but I don't want to say it just in case, just not to jinx anything. You might say putting that energy on the universe is never good. So yeah, who's winning this? I don't know. I'll be completely honest. This is one of those things of like, I'll probably, you know what? I'll go with the old wrestling rule book of the last minute replacement always wins. So it's going to be Sonya and Chelsea because she's the replacement. Sonya's a replacement, so they win. The only team I could really see winning is Ronda and Shayna, and that's really it. Then we move on to the match that people admittedly cringed, cried, and were scared of because it could mean Vincent Kennedy McMahon is back in charge. It's the Brock Lesnar match versus Omos. Well, this match was listen, this match is just a visual spectacle match. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the very last few times we're going to see Brock in the company. Did Vince have a hand in this? Probably, but let's be completely honest. Brock was ready to walk out when Vince retired, and I wouldn't be surprised if Vince had a hand in all of his matches since he left. And by all, I mean like two, right? Who did he wrestle between SummerSlam and Vince returning in the beginning of the year? It was Bobby. just Bobby Lashley. So, it's a match that even if Vince had a hand in it, it's because of Brock wanting it. And remember, Brock said no to Bray Wyatt, and, well, lucky for him he did, because he would have no match for Mania. Because Bray's not in it. But so, by the way, before anybody says that, oh, Bray really walked out of the company, the rumors were true, they're still selling his merch and they're still advertising him. They still have the posters and all that. So it might just be a legitimate injury that he's having. And by the way, he didn't just wrestle one match, he wrestled a bunch on the live shows and stuff. So yeah, let's cut the crap there. But anyway, who wins this? This is going to be like a quick, like 10-minute match with entrances, a visual spectacle. Are we dropping? Maybe we are dropping. Uh-oh, we'll see. Wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute. My bits dropped to 0. Are we disconnected? Ooh, boy. Ooh, Nelly. It didn't say we're disconnected. This is a tricky bitch to get rid of. It's not good. It's not good. Oh boy, 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 oh boy. Ooh, boy. You know what? I'll take the opportunity that my internet is crashing and having troubles to just go refresh my throat because I'm parched. So I'll be right back. Okay, so it seems like I went away and came back, and my internet hasn't really gotten any better. So let's speedrun the rest of the card. Before my internet, let's see if it's even working now. Okay, before my internet completely crashes, I think we should completely speedrun this. So let's go. As I was saying, Brock Lesnar versus Omos will be a visual spectacle of Brock just... It's going to be a visual image of Brock lifting Omos onto his shoulders, F5ing him. That's it. 1, 2, 3. It's an easy win. Then we're going to go to the match that was supposedly, allegedly, only going to happen at the Royal Rumble, which didn't, because I believe Edge didn't have the time for it to set up everything for it. So they went and delayed it to WrestleMania. So we're going to have Edge versus Finn Balor. This is a feud this should be the end of the feud. Honestly, I don't have a problem with the feud continuing, but it's just I want to see them both do something else. This, I think Finn wins. It's the return of the Demon, and I believe Triple H probably wants to rebuild the Demon. He wants to rebuild Finn as a top guy, so it just makes sense. God damn it! I hope that went through. Okay, I don't know if that went through or not, so I'm going to say it again. I think that Triple H wants to build Finn back up as the top guy, and I could see one of the guys that could take the title away from. We'll get to it later. Of the world champion, especially if there's only one. If there's more than one world title, there's possibility of more people. Of him being one of the guys that takes the title away from the next world champion. So yeah, and also Return of the Demon, and even better, the biggest return of WrestleMania will be the return of the old Hell in a Cell, which is great. Then we get to the big on the words of Big E, big meaty man slapping meat in Gunther, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus. Who would have thought a year ago, when people were bitching and moaning about the Gunther rebranding, that Gunther will be one of the biggest call-ups of the main roster from NXT. He's working out phenomenally. Has been IC champion for the longest time. So this match, I can see it going one of two ways, and again, they're dependent of what the company wants in the future. Because here's the thing: if post WrestleMania, we either split the belts, split the world titles, and one becomes a Raw title, one becomes a SmackDown title, or if the Universal title is completely retired and we bring a new title in, and the brand split is once again reaffirmed. I do think Gunther loses the title here because he's the next world champion. This has been reported multiple times. Gunther is the perfect man to be the next. Well, he is the next big thing. He 100% is. The company supports him. Triple H loves him, so it just makes sense. The crowd he's quote unquote behind him. He's a heel, so obviously they're not like super behind him, but they're behind him enough where it would make sense for him to be the next world champion. He's prime for it. People will be okay with it, so I can see it happening, and I can see it happening. So yeah, but if they're not doing it, if they're not splitting the belts, and then I can see Gunther retaining, holding on to the title until September, then losing the title to Sheamus, and winning the Royal Rumble, main eventing WrestleMania 40, like he predicts he will, and winning the world title there. Just makes sense. So, if they're splitting the titles and he's the next world champion, then I expect Sheamus to win this match. So it's either or. It's either Gunther and Sheamus, and I think either winning the title, I think, could very likely telegraph what we could be seeing in the near future for the company. Then it's Bianca Belair versus Asuka, and I'll be honest, I think Asuka wins this because I think Bianca needs a little bit of a character, not a character complete refresh or something. I think we're going to see a turn here. I think Asuka will go full heel here. We have seen full heel Asuka in the main roster, and with the possible return of Kairi Sane to the company, which could reform the Kabuki Warriors for a little bit. I also think that Bianca, she has beaten everyone on the roster basically, and outside of a few call-ups that could happen from NXT, we know Zoe Stark apparently is in the line for a call-up. Roxanne Perez, if they want to mainline her to the main roster or fast track to the main roster. Then Belair has run through the entire women's roster on Raw, beaten most people on SmackDown. It becomes a thing of what really can you do with her? So I think it would be better for a character refresh on her. Asuka going heel and she losing the title, becoming the chaser, and have new opponents for the Raw women's title. And whatever else she could end up doing. I find it very interesting that in a way, they put the women's matches separated, 2 on each night. But it's funny, in the on night 1, it's going to be very tag team heavy, as we have the Usos and Kevin Owens versus Sami and Kevin. We have the Becky, Lita, and Trish versus Damage Control and the Men's Tag Team Showcase match, all happening on night 1. And then on night 2, it's just one tag team title match. And then it's basically everything else is a singles match. Although, obviously, we have a Hell in a Cell and we have a triple threat. It feels very much like night 1 is going to be very stacked around. It's very much more built around tag teams than night 2. But it's interesting. The way it panned out. And then we obviously get to the main event of Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. And, the winner is... I don't think they're going to give this title... That would make Cody lose this. I heard people say, oh, the 1,000 days as champion that nobody gave a shit about. Or... until very recently. Or Cody has not faced adversity yet outside of the injury he suffered. And the times and everything before his return within WWE. I honestly feel like a lot of the people pushing the narrative of Cody should not win and Roman should win and keep the titles come from disgruntled AEW fans that are not happy that Cody left and are not happy with the way AEW is right now. So they've pushed this narrative for Cody to lose. Because let's be honest, if Cody loses here, if Roman beats him, there's nothing else for Cody. It becomes a thing of you're dragging the story out too long for Roman. You completely killed Cody. And it's just another, like, just for 1,000 days, it just doesn't feel right. I don't think it is right. I don't think it's a good story to tell. You kill Cody effectively, and it will take a long time to rebuild him, or anyone for that matter. Nobody right now is legitimately a contender for Roman. Maybe Gunther, and that's it. Because you already ran through everybody else in his last 3 years that could be a legitimate title contender. And then it all depends on Stand and Deliver, on Stand and Deliver results. Because like, if Braun Breaker retains, which he very likely could, and I think he will, just so that he can break Adam Cole's title reign record, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. Especially with the way things are with Adam Cole in AEW and all that shit being. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went with that. So there's nobody near it. You have Gunther, and then you have Roman going away for 3 months. You would only have Gunther, and if he keeps the title until SummerSlam, you're not gonna have him win. You already have a guy who holds all the gold. You're not gonna have a guy with even more gold. So yeah, and then you're not gonna just keep Gunther not wrestling for the world title until SummerSlam or whatever, when Roman has the shot at it or comes back. So it feels the thing of there's too many cons going in for Roman to win, and I don't think they will. Even with Vince coming back, Vince would have 100% and would if he is in charge, he will, but he would 100% put the belt on Cody because the time is right. Roman is going away, and it's time to move on. And I think this is the end of the Bloodline as we know it. It's the end of the Bloodline as a faction, and the beginning of the new side of the story as the fallout of the Bloodline. And it all begins on WrestleMania with all of them losing their golds. But that's it. Those are my predictions for WrestleMania Goes Hollywood. That begins, technically speaking, today. But it's a jam-packed weekend because we have SmackDown today, the Hall of Fame following it, Stand and Deliver coming up early tomorrow. Then it's WrestleMania, baby, woo! Night 1. And then it's WrestleMania Night 2, woo! On the next day. And then the Raw after Mania. Now, I know for a fact that I'll be able to watch Night 1. I'm not too sure about Night 2. It all depends on my working schedule for Monday, which I still don't know. And, yeah. But anyway, thank you for watching. Please tell me in the comment section what are your opinions and what do you think the results will be, and how wrong you think I am, or how right you think I am. But anyway, thank you for watching. I've been watching this, and have yourselves a very good WrestleMania, baby.